No.
Hi, this is Mac McGregor, and this is the Gender Sensei Podcast. This is our second podcast, and we have been having some really amazing conversation with Jane Goto about intersex, and we were talking about the LGBTQIA and how the T in the LGBTQIA is just starting to be embraced. In fact, I saw a graphic the other day of it being hoisted back up. It had fallen off, and it's just starting. They had a crane hooked to it and starting to hoist it up. Because transgender, just recently, with some famous people coming out and being in the media, it's really opened the conversation about gender worldwide, thanks to people like Laverne Cox and Caitlyn Jenner, the only Republican transgender person in the world. We won't go into that, but anyway. It's opened the gender conversation in a different way than it has ever been before.
Right.
And the interesting thing is that now more of the world has a view of what transgender is, but they only have it in a privileged, very wealthy way.
Yes.
And then they think they know what transgender is due to that.
Right.
And it's very different. But so the T is just starting to get hoisted up. The I has not been embraced and is very misunderstood. I know, like many people for years have said, the B, was so misunderstood. The bisexuals have always felt misunderstood. And told to choose a team by the L and the G. Like, what's wrong with you? Choose a team, right? And it's what's interesting is I wanted to bring up and talk to you about like the fact that within our own community, many times the letters in the LGBTQIA community, they have fought against each other or marginalized one another.
Yeah, sadly.
Why do marginalized people marginalize other people?
Boy, if I had an answer for that, I'd have at least an honorary degree in something.
Yes, we would. When we would get
that it just seems to be part of human nature. Once you scramble up to a relatively safe place, your attention isn't to extend your hand and help your brother up. It's to preserve your turf and your place in the hierarchy. And when people do reach to help, it seems to be an exceptional thing to do rather than the standard thing to do. I don't understand.
And that's very sad.
And I see that in my own community too. There's a lot of hierarchy, and you haven't suffered enough, and you pass so well, or there's a lot of accusations flying around about you're a poser or you're not a poser, and that.
The same thing happens in the trans community about it. You're discriminated with if you pass better.
Mm-hmm.
You're discriminated against. You're discriminated against if you want to pass.
Right.
And then some other things have happened that are really interesting, like people judge how you choose to transition,
Right.
even.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
It should be totally
It's
your own
everybody's
choice.
individual journey. Yes.
Yeah. Like if you're not taking hormones, what the hell's the matter with you? If you're not
If you
having
don't
at
want
least
surgery or right. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And what I thought coming into the community was how I should be understood by the other letters, like wow, I have this bigger community because there's more than just my letter, right? And I thought this could be home because I could be more understood, and that's not what happened to me. In fact, the people who gave me the hardest time when I came out was the lesbian community and lesbian friends, because many transgender, especially female to males, the only place they feel safe before fully coming out and transitioning is in the lesbian community. And I got a lot of flack.
You get a lot of backlash when all of a sudden you're on the other team and you are the enemy. I'm just putting words in your mouth.
I was totally, in fact, people said you're leaving my camp and we're losing all our good butches and it's my fault. It was all of a sudden my fault that they were losing all of their good butches. And I was like, I'm leaving camp. I didn't know I was at camp. I didn't know. Did I have a camp card? I didn't know. I was just like, what? Yeah, and I had to try to explain that I had nothing against women,
Mm-hmm.
that this was just my journey.
Mm-hmm.
and that I would always still be a person that fought for women's rights because I had lived it. I've lived as what the world viewed as a female athlete. I've experienced sexism in an extreme way through that, and I couldn't forget those experiences, right? Yeah.
Of course not.
And yet I got people that gave me a real hard time. Now, many of them years later have come back around. I even had one friend say to me, you're going to become one of those male chauvinist assholes. And I said, do you think that would happen with me? And as soon as you take that testosterone, the T.
It is a very powerful substance.
It is a powerful substance, yes.
I don't know if they had this commercial in the United States, but in Canada there was this commercial, behold the power of cheese. Like you could get,
Yes.
you could get anybody to do anything for a piece of cheese. And testosterone is a very powerful thing. Behold the power of testosterone. There's definitely, I have F to M friends who told me they used to cry at a drop of a hat or a touching commercial, and now even when it's appropriate to cry, they can't cry. So it does affect your psyche in some way, and of course it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
But it is a powerful, powerful thing. Because I have androgen, which is testosterone insensitivity, and it's complete, so I'm totally immune to the power of testosterone.
Wow.
But on a cellular level. So the follicles in my armpits.
So that's why you didn't get hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I didn't get acne too, because believe it or not, it's not the French fries or the chocolate. It's testosterone dependent.
Parents just want you to think it's chocolate, yes.
Yes. However, there is a school of thought growing in endocrinology, hormone doctors, that the brain, the synapses in the brain might respond on a different level than follicles in your armpit. You think? Maybe? So,
I hope so.
a lot of women like me with my specific diagnosis are now hounding their endocrinologists for supplemental testosterone. And the knee-jerk reaction always is, Mac, you are immune to it, it won't do anything for you. And then you have to convince them, I'm willing to accept the risk, and I'm willing to monitor my blood pressure or whatever you want me to do, but I want to see if it affects my mood, my sense of self-esteem, and my libido.
And just your general energy level. One of the things that testosterone does is boost your general energy.
Yeah, and it's a powerful, powerful substance.
Mm-hmm.
So doctors are starting to wake up to that reality that, yeah, maybe the brain operates on a different level than your armpits do.
You wouldn't think that's rocket science, you know? You just wouldn't think that, right?
Now, girls like me are traditionally gonadectomized, like the gonads are taken out. Remember I said my gonads were up inside my abdomen? Because, ladies and gentlemen, that's where they start, even in boys. They start way up in there and they have to migrate down into the scrotal sac. Mine just stayed there. That immature testicle will pump out a lot of testosterone and it gets aromatized. So you've probably heard this in your own community, that the testosterone's not working the way you want it to work because your body is converting it into estrogen.
Oh, I've heard people.
Yeah, so that's how I developed boobs in a female body, because my testicles were pumping out testosterone, my body couldn't respond to it. It got automatically converted into estrogen by aromatase, which is an enzyme, and lo and behold. So there's another commonality, another path we both worked down there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it is interesting how, I mean, hormones, I think, affect so much more than people understand.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the things I've learned going through this. So when, and I'm sure this happened to you, but when somebody transitions or wants to medically transition, the first thing they do is test your hormonal levels to see where you begin, because all these cisgender straight people walk around thinking they all have. I had a guy tell me he didn't think he had any estrogen, and I said, honey, you don't know anything about hormones. Yeah, we all have some of each to begin with, first of all, right? But there's a wide range of levels that we all could be walking around with. And it's like most people have no idea what their chromosomes are. I mean, most people have no idea. They think they know, but they don't, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, when I tested, I was on the very high end of a biological born female for testosterone. I was on the highest end. And I was like, duh. You know, yeah, okay, that makes sense to me as an athlete and just somebody that was very masculine anyway, right?
Matt, do you think that one day science will progress to the point where we understand what the biological genesis of transsexuality is? I don't know what term you feel comfortable with. Gender dysphoria? What?
Yeah, gender dysphoria is such an interesting term, right?
Yeah.
That is like, well, I describe it as somebody uncomfortable in their body, and so they disconnect in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And some people go into deep depression and hate the body they were born with.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's very difficult. Well, so yes, I think that we are just scratching the surface and are going to understand a lot more. And I think something even more interesting is the brain mapping studies that are being done, right?
Yes.
And so they've discovered now many people that are transgender be really interesting to brain map intersex community as well. But many people that are transgender, they found out our brains have been mapped male.
Yeah.
Like my brain was mapped male from the time I was young. I knew. I was 4 years old when I started changing my name, and
Yeah.
you know, I knew.
So there's some theories about masculinization of the brain during fetal development because
Right.
of the environment, or the amount of hormones and sensitivity and the timing of the hormones, and then the situation of identical twins where one changes their gender and the other one doesn't feel compelled to do that. Something's going on there. The slippery slope of understanding why things happen opens the door to preventing that from happening. And I don't want to live in a world where you and I don't exist anymore.
I don't either.